Hello and welcome back. So now we are done with our bite 2 from our previous video. So you can check the previous video for bite 2. Now we want to move on with the question paper to AppleCore. Edit the image to appear as an AppleCore. Save the image as AppleCore.svg. Okay, so we now want to move from this step to that step. Okay, so this is what we already had done. So now what we want to do is remove the first part. As you can see that we no longer see any red parts here, so we need to remove this part first so that we can add in this modification or add in these shapes. We can see that this is a shape and this is another one, and these are seeds that were added onto what we already have already. So we want to remove this part, have that shape behind, and then this one on top. So these are just two rectangles. Okay, of course there are some ends that show that there was a bite this side and there was also a bite that side. So let's go to Illustrator and modify the shape. So what we are going to do is let's use a rectangle. Okay, so we want to use a rectangle to remove that part, but we don't want to see that red, that bite, that light blue. So what we can do before adding, we can click on that one. Let's ungroup first. We want to take off this part. We don't want it. Okay, so I just deleted it. Now, and I don't think we don't want that one as well, because when we look at our shape, we can see that it's just red and it's just red there. So we don't want to have any problems having those. So we are going to leave it like this. And then we put in our rectangle. Right, so we're just putting in a rectangle shape to just make sure we are covering. Okay, so this is our rectangle shape that we put in on top. So we want to remove this part. Okay, so we can use our shape builder again and our O to help us to remove the parts. Okay, so these are the parts that we don't want. We're going to highlight and remove. Let's go back to the question paper and see. Okay, so this is what we have right now. I think we can work with this one. So this is the shapes that we have created, right? These two. So we want to make sure that this part, we don't want anything. Okay, so this is what we have. What we can do is we can even ungroup this. And remove that, because we just want to work with just the red part. Now we want to use our ellipse tools. Okay, we want to make it white so that we can actually see the effects that will be happening. And Okay, so we want to try and imitate how it's looking. So we are using our ellipse tool so that we can try and shape how it's looking on the question paper. So we want to shape that curve in and that curve there and the curve that is up. So we are using our 3 ellipse tools for that. So I can click on Alt. Remember, our Alt can help us to have another one and another one. Okay. We just want to do this and shape this side. Okay. Then this one, let's try to make it nice. So because what we are creating, we want to create a shape that looks like that. Okay, let's check if there's another thing that we need to adjust again. So we want that shape, it curves, and then we see that. So we can see that, yeah, we are almost close. We can be happy with the image. Right now, let's think we can leave it like this. Okay, yeah, like that. So let's try and use our, we can even use our pathfinder and remove front. Okay, let's just use our shape builder. The remove front part is affecting the other parts. So with our shape builder, okay, okay, so we are going to move on. I'm just dragging so that I can just remove them at once. Okay. And this is what I have on top. Then I want to do that at the bottom as well. So we can see it's curving in 1, 2, 3. So I want to create those 3 curves. But you can see that at the bottom it's a bit wider than at the top, the center part. So we'll use our ellipse tool again. Let's make them white. With our selection tool now, we can arrange them. And we can use our Alt so that we can have 3. Okay, so this is all trying to shape the bottom part of the, make sure we avoid that point showing there. Okay, So the red part is what is going to be our bottom part. We can now check with our question paper. 1 curve, 2 curve, 3 curve. Okay, so if we're happy, now we can use our shape builder again. Here we want to try and avoid a point. You can see from the question paper that the right side does not actually show a point. So we can try to just put in a circle or even a rectangle. Just try and bring a certain effect so our point can start a bit in somewhere in there. Okay, so with this we can now remove our let's highlight and use our shape builder again. So just dragging through to make sure that all parts are right. So this is view of what we have right now. So what we want to do is to make that rectangle that is covering that area. So we can go and see that we have this rectangle that has some curves inside. Okay, so we can go here, take a rectangle, okay, and we want to have that color there. And with this rectangle now, we want to have some carvings inside, okay? So it doesn't really need to be white because we can just do some modifications one side and then we reflect. So I'm just going to use an ellipse again, just to create the carvings. Okay, so when we look at the question paper, we want to create this carving inside these caves, these caves, these caves, these caves, because we can see that these look exactly the same as this side. We're just going to do one side and reflect, and we put it there. Okay, so let's use white so that we can actually see the fill change, how it's going to here with our ellipse. We can just be changing how it's positioned. So that it creates the different effects. So we can see that we are trying to create this. Okay, so let's just highlight, and since this is one shape at the back, we can say remove front of what was given, top in front. So now that we have this one, we can just reflect this one. Let's see, transform, reflect, okay, copy. Okay, let's have a reflection. Let's see if when we reflect, let's try to, okay, it's reflecting vertical. Okay, so now we have these two shapes. We now want to make sure that we just rotate this image so that it shows like this. Okay, so what we are going to do is just take that side and take that side and try to just combine the two. Okay, so we'll end at that point. Okay, if we highlight the two, let's use unite so that we can have one shape, and then we can maybe leave it at that stage. Let's now put this one as the big shape of our image. So we're going to right click. Let's look at the question paper again. Okay, so we have created this part, right? This is the part we have created. We now want to place it. Okay. So we can stretch it. Okay, so let's put this one. Arrange. Let's send it to back. Okay, let's put this one and send it, bring it to front like this. Okay, so whatever we are now going to create, Okay, we are now just placing and making sure that it gives a view of our two images showing. So we can see that that one will remove those parts with our, we can even use our direct selection to now modify. We want to modify we can either modify the points of the inner one, the direct selection tool can allow us to shape it the way we want. Because what we just want is to make sure that all our points are showing. And let's go to our image again. We can see that it has to touch that point, and that one to touch that point, touch that point. Okay. So with our direct selection, you can even also stretch or change the parts that you want to actually change to say, okay, may this one stretch out, or what you modify the way you feel that I would want this one to go inside a bit or go out a bit. It can be modified by our direct selection tool. And then we can now use we can highlight our two shapes and use our shape builder to just remove the parts that we don't want to show. So whenever you move it and you see that shading that is coming there, means it's going to remove that part that would have been shaded. Okay. So we can see our shape again. Okay, we can use our direct selection again to bring out this part, or even the curvature too. Okay, so it's all about trying to bring out the perfect look that you want to end up having. Okay, so we can say let's have that one is our shape, and you highlight your group so that it's one. And then we now want to bring the middle part. So we are going to use again a rectangle tool, and then we curve it the way we did. Or even we can use our pen tool, right? So we click our shift. We know that a pen tool can actually also bring create a shape for us. So we can do that, and then create in the shape, right? We know it's curved, right? So this is actually showing another method that we can use to create the different moves that we can see in our let's do that. Okay, now that we have this as our shape, we can then use our curvature tool, right? So our curvature tool can allow us to just click in and curve. Let's create in the curves that we okay. So we can see that you can create either from a rectangle or from curves that you create using your curvature tool, from using your pen tool. Okay, so your pen tool can actually create a shape for you, and then you modify it the way you want it to end up showing. Okay, okay. So this can be another way of creating the curves. Okay, and then on this one, the shape has to be much lighter now. The shading of the shape is much lighter. And from the shading, we can actually then reduce the size of the shape. Right, when we reduce it, we can reflect again. So we can go to our transform and Right, so let's unite, and we can even, let's rotate this because the bottom part is the one which is supposed to be wider. So it has to come out like this, and then we bring it to the center. So what we are going to do is, let's ungroup this first so that we can arrange them. Doesn't need to be too wide. Okay. Now we can also use our direct selection tool when you feel you need to adjust some points. Okay. These are just going to be down. I'm just trying to bring this down. Okay. So what we now want to do after adjusting the points there is we just want to bring this red one to the front now. Arrange, bring to front. The red is supposed to be at the front. Now you can see that we can now see that this is our inner part of the shape. And with this, we can also go to a direct selection tool and adjust the red part. Yes, so you can see that the direct selection tool can help you to just adjust wherever you feel that I need to change maybe the point where it's giving, then you use the direct selection tool. Okay, and even on this one, I can choose to use the direct selection tool on this point so that it doesn't really show. Okay. But this is how my shape is coming out. And then when I'm now happy with the parts of my shape, I'm now going to bring in the seeds. Okay, so I can actually group this, right click and then group. I'll check this one. I can arrange and send this to back so that I just maintain how that part was. Okay. Okay, so after maintaining that part, I'm now going to put in the seeds. So the seeds, I'm going to use my ellipse to draw something. Give it a color. I just try to match the one on the question paper. So you can see that from the question paper, they look blue, bit dark. Okay, so I'm going to use that one, and then I use my Alt to just create more shapes of this. But maybe let's adjust the look a bit. Okay, because it doesn't really look circle from the other side, so I'm using the direct selection to just push it in a bit so that the shape doesn't give an actual circle shape, just modifying the look of the shape. Okay, so it's more looks like a seed now. Right, I'm going to click that one, click Alt and drag down, Alt and drag down so that I can have 3 of them. Then I will then just place them. You want to reduce the size. Let's look in the question paper and see the one that we have 2, one on top and one and the other one on its own. Okay. So we can reduce this one a bit further again. Then we put it there. And then we have the third one. It's on its own. Okay. So you highlight. Group. Okay. So this will be our AppleCore. Okay. So let's try it. try and follow step by step and also see how much we can be creative to create this image. It's all about knowing the tools that we have, and there's no one way of solving a task. There are so many ways, so many different ways that we can also even find out as we are doing this task. So try it out, and then we meet on the last part of the graphics task. It's bye for now. Let's keep practicing so that we can win this. Okay, it's all about practicing so that we are able to create better. Bye for now.